comedians who I believe are on the West Coast, enjoying some last-minute sunlight. We have J.F. Harris. How you doing?
Hello, buddy. Nice to see you in your dark New York apartment.
That's right. It's dark also metaphorically. And Elon Gold, how you doing?
Actually, this is Al Gore, and I invented the internet. Whenever I hear someone say the internet, I get a residual check. I used to do Al Gore in the 90s. You know what the hook of my Al Gore impression was? If you're trying to do an Al Gore, and I know there's a lot of you out there struggling with this. If you're trying to do an Al Gore, here's the key. You've got to put the letter H in words where they don't belong, like with a little southern drawl, and it goes like this. You know, when we were growing up, my father, Geppetto, he's wooden, so there's a Pinocchio joke in there too. Did someone else just join us in the middle of my Al Gore impression?
Don't adjust your internet. This isn't 1999, but you are seeing an Al Gore impression. Joe Zimmerman, everybody. How you doing? I guess we're getting his hostage video. Are you okay? Do we need to send help?
I'm doing well. Hi, Harrison.
Send our love to the Taliban.
Here?
Yes!
Why?
It's very
because you're either being hidden by terrorists or you're at the worst comedy club ever.
Oh yeah, I'm at a sweet comedy club. You can see the brick wall.
I see the brick wall.
Is that a fabric? Is that a print of a brick wall? Did you buy a backdrop of a brick wall?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Harrison, does anybody know the origins of the brick wall and why that started?
Yeah,
I heard it was for the acoustics.
No, I think it was just because the first improv or catch just had a brick wall and it was just cheaper than putting up walls.
By the way, Harrison, let that be a lesson to you. Always listen to someone who's talking about comedy and also wearing the Groucho nose glasses and mustache.
Hey.
Also, Elon, I know this is not fake, but the books on your left shoulder, is that the Talmud?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. These are a collection of books. We have the 5 books of Moses. We have Pirkei Avot, which is ethics of the fathers. You know, Judaism is all about ethics and morals. Just ask Weinstein and Epstein. No, we need books like this just to make sure we stay on track. You know what I mean? No, I love what I love about Judaism is the principles and the values are really just about community and family and healing the world, which in Hebrew is called tikkun olam. That is the message of Judaism, to heal the world. So I love my little collection of Jewish books that instill those values and reaffirm, any ethics, because it's not easy to be a human being, let alone a human being comedian, especially with women throwing themselves at you after every show, and some men.
I was wondering what you guys do about that.
Yeah, well, here's what we do. We read the Talmud and we go, no, we're not supposed to do this.
That's why it's nice to be a Catholic comedian.
I was going to say, Jeff, just for fairness, you have 30 seconds to tell us why Christianity is better.
As a person who is not either.
Oh, what are you?
I have a higher power of my own understanding.
Oh, I'd love to know. I'd love to see how you word that understanding.
Yeah, we got to get deeper into that. You can't just, and I don't want to label. I don't want to hear agnostic, this, that. Let's go deep.
You want to go deep?
Yeah, we have time.
Mine is God, good orderly direction.
Turns out,
I agree.
Plot twist, it's an acronym. I did not know that.
Is this weird? The guy just invented an acronym for the Lord's name?
That's not me. That one's been around forever. No, I believe in like a quantum physics kind of version where it's like everything, if you break it down on its smallest level, is a cell that's connected to another cell, and we're all connected throughout time. Everything's energy, and just try to do the best thing for other people.
That's great.
As a guest co-host of Star Talk, I'm obligated to tell you that according to science, the law of the universe is entropy, which is chaos.
That's all well and good. But, there had to be some of the biggest and brightest atheists have all collectively agreed to the fact that there is an intelligent design to the universe, to the world, to Earth. There is a designer. whether or not, and again, the Big Bang Theory, the Bible, the Old Testament, the Torah, as we call it, doesn't go against that theory. It just says that God caused it to happen. The 6th day of creation doesn't go against the scientists who say the Earth is millions and millions or billions. How old do they say it is?
13
Each day.
billion.
First billions is kind of a different.
No, okay, but what I'm saying is each day.
13 billion, 6 days. Ah!
But if you look deeper into the commentaries, each day was not the finite 24-hour day. Each day could have been millions of years. So nothing contradicts science. And I love that argument. They're like, you guys are idiot in 6 days. And it's like, no, this doesn't contradict science. And you can have both. You can have science and you can have a creator. Why did this become a rabbi's sermon? This was supposed to be comedians riffing on shit.
Yeah, under 10 minutes and we're already debating the origin of life. I think I count this as a success.
I'm into this. This is what I show up for. I mean, I love Judaism.
I would hope you look like the classic Jewish writer.
I know.
If you're not a Jewish comedy writer, were you in Neil Simon's? Were you in Sid Caesar's room with Brooks and Reiner? And
there was definitely a photograph where you were in between those guys for sure.
I am ageless. I do look like that.
Yeah, JF, you're gonna sell several movies just based on your look.
He walks into the room, it's like sold. Here's my pitch.
Smoking a cigar during your pitch. It's all over.
Yes. Here's my pitch for JF. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, there's this Seth Rogen movie just came out called An American Pickle?
Yeah.
Did anybody see it?
By the way, has my last name. I'm a Greenbaum. This whole thing is about Herschel Greenbaum. I'm Harrison Greenbaum. There's a lot of lines in that movie where like the Greenbaum family name. And I'm like, I'll tell you about the Greenbaum family name.
I read the short story. I read the Simon Rich story.
And how was that?
And I knew Simon a little bit in college. I'm just saying.
Did any of you see the movie?
I haven't seen the movie yet, but the story was very funny.
Okay.
But I'm amazed they could turn that into I'm kind of surprised they could turn it into a movie.
It's on the list.
I'm kind of surprised they could make a movie out of it because it's a very simple story. Funny.
I'm not sure they made a movie out of it.
Okay.
No, the truth is I saw it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There were just so many plot points that I didn't buy into, that I kept going out of it and then back in it. But the relationship and the writing and the acting is so good, you sort of forgive them. It's almost like, I'm not comparing it to Curb, but Curb is just the most amazing thing to watch comedically. It's so comedically satisfying that you'll forgive the coincidences that are just so absurd. This would never happen, and then you're like, okay, but I just enjoyed 5 amazing observations, Larry and Carlin going at it, and it's like, I don't care if it takes some turns. But you want to hear an interesting story about me and Seth Rogen.
Oh, that's why I showed up to do this podcast.
I want the Seth Rogen story and the Simon Rich Harvard story.
Also, I'd like to point out that every Seth Rogen movie is just Seth Rogen teaching somebody else how to get high and relax. Every Seth Rogen movie.
It legitimately makes no sense that you're not stoned right now. Like, I don't even understand. It's insane. It's insane to me how you don't wake up completely stoned. I literally will sleep. I will sleep weed. Some people sleepwalk. I will sleep weed. I will wake up and just get totally baked.
I like how you all stopped for that and enjoyed it.
I'm amazed Seth Rogen booked his first star movie role because he's been a great movie star, but breaking in just as Seth Rogen seems like it would have been hard to break in with that look.
I mean, but when funny can fucking, I mean, like,
well, he was on Freaks and Geeks. He was a high school student.
Yeah.
And Judd Apatow, after he moved everybody out to LA, Franco, Rogen, the show got canceled, and he was like, oh shit, I just upended all these kids' lives. I better put them in some shit right now.
No, but Joe, I understand your point. Like, he's not the quintessential movie star. You would never think in a billion years, if he came over to you and said, I'm going to be like a movie star, I'm going to be like the biggest movie star ever, you'd be like, all right, kid, okay. It's like when Jimmy Fallon came over to me at Judd Apatow's 30th birthday party, and he was like, oh man, oh Elon, oh man, you should be on SNL. I want to be on SNL. And I was just like, okay, kid, just calm down. Have you even started open mics yet? And then it's like, oh, okay. So you would never look at Seth Rogen and be like, that guy's going to be a leading man opposite like Charlize Theron and
Which he
and
kills
Catherine.
it at.
Huh?
He kills it at being a
Yeah.
leading man up in
Kills it. But the truth is, with comedy, you bend those, Jimmy Stewart leading man rules. All of a sudden, you're
I mean,
Bill
Woody
Murray or
Allen
Will
was-
Ferrell.
Woody Allen was a leading man.
It just makes me wonder
gotta
how
be-
many
just gotta
Seth
be-
Rogen and Woody Allens are out there right now living in their parents' basements.
I mean, ask JF. He's right here.
He's right there. Why would you insult him
Hey,
by
I'm in
asking?
my
to-
office, thank you very much.
Really?
What?
Can we see your
Oh,
office? Can we? get a
Somebody's
spin around?
working. What are you
Um,
working at?
I mean, it's a little messy right now just because of the fact that
Wow.
earlier, so
LA living, man. This is my office, my living room, my.
How
Second
is
best.
I don't understand how is JF not Jewish? It's
I
impossible.
know it's crazy, right?
Are those Warby Parker glasses?
They are not. They are Oliver Peoples
Zenny.com.
or Garrett Lights. They're Garrett Lights.
I mean, you're literally an amalgamation of like if Welcome Back Kotter had a baby with Groucho who then banged, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't help that I got an extra 20 pounds on my face. It really.
I don't know about that. You look fine. I like that look.
First time I ever snuck into the Comedy Cellar, I don't know what age I was, but I had a fake ID. I went with friends. This is in like probably early 2000s or maybe like 2000, 2001. And I got berated because I was sitting next to a table of Hasidic Jews by Gottfried for about an hour about how I wasn't with that group of guys.
That's amazing. I
He's like,
love
"How are you
that.
not with that?"
Saddest part of that story is that Harrison is still sneaking into the Comedy Cellar.
Hey now.
He
I was
has
going to
his
say the
mask.
weirdest part about that story is Godfrey still looks exactly the same.
My cellar audience member experience was I saw Dave Attell follow John Mayer,
Yes.
and John Mayer and Dave Attell was riffing with Mayer. Mayer got off the stage. He was kind of drunk, and Dave Attell was like, "You're on magazines. You're dating every celebrity. How are you complaining about dating? How are you complaining about dating?" And John
Think
Mayer
about fucking
and-
Jennifer Aniston.
and John Mayer goes, "Because I'm a comic," and Dave Attell goes, "Really?" And the crowd just like fell over laughing when he said really, and then he goes, "How many question marks were at the end of your really?" And just the crowd just like it was just over.
What is the love affair between John Mayer and great comedians like Attell and Chappelle? I don't understand it.
Well, I
I
guess
mean-
he is a good musician, and he understands.
He's a great musician and he's a
he
super
understands
cool
what-
dude for the few times I've met him. But there's a very specific thing. It must be this appreciation
Yeah.
that he has for great comedians that draws him into our whole world.
I mean, I think rock stars have always wanted to, it's that saying, rock stars have always wanted to be comedians, comedians have always wanted to be rock stars, and we live similar hours, so I think we just get along in a very special
And nobody wants to be a magician.
And the fact that John Mayer tried comedy for 2 or 3 years probably makes him understand it better. Obviously.
Oh, I'm sure.
What was
But
that
he-
like? Did anybody see him do sets?
I've seen him do sets, and then also I went to his concert where he kind of tries out bits between, and there's a lot. I've seen a lot of concerts where the singers want to tell you a story between the songs, and you're like, man, I didn't come here for the storytelling. I came here for the concert. So please,
Well, I agree, but I got to be honest with you. There is something about a musician not singing and just interacting and just you get a little glimpse into what are they thinking? My older brother, not the gay one. What's the opposite of gay? Oh yeah, a womanizer. My older brother, he's a bit of a playboy hedonist, great guy, but just don't marry him. Anyway, he was in the group Fountains of Wayne, and and him and his best friend, the late great Adam Schlesinger, who passed away of this thing, in the beginning of it. Adam, when I would go to Fountains of Wayne, and for those of you who don't know Fountains of Wayne, go look them up. Stacy's Mom, they have all these amazing songs. Hackensack. I would go to Fountains of Wayne concerts, and these two guys, like, they won a Grammy for Colbert. Christmas, they worked on Chappelle's Show, on SNL, all Smeigel's cartoons. These two guys, Adam and my brother Steven. When I would go to see Fountains of Wayne, while I loved the songs, I couldn't wait for them to end and for Adam to start riffing, because he was brilliant. Like, his just, stream of consciousness always ended in punchlines the way we take time to write them. He was just flowing. So I actually think that's such a great part of it. And if Mayer was funny, then what a full experience of entertainment.
Well, that's what I was leading up to, is sometimes when they do the stories, they're not good at it. When they're good at it, it's great. John Mayer, it was so frustrating because he's such a good musician. And the jokes in between the songs are actually pretty solid. I was like, God damn it, you're not allowed to be good at both. That doesn't seem fair at all.
Right.
I mean, I would go to a whole concert of just Paul Newman or Randy Newman talking. I mean, Paul Simon or Randy Newman.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get back to JF movie. So in American Pickle, he's working in a pickle factory. He falls in the brine. He's like frozen or whatever in the brine for 100 years, comes out. So for you, this would take place, I don't know, in the 50s. It's your show of shows. It's Sid Caesar, and you're in that writer's room. What do you fall into, or whatever, that you're frozen or whatever? And then when you come out in 2020, you're dealing with not only COVID, but all the woke cancel culture bullshit and all the jokes that you guys in the writer's room used to, riff on, you can no longer do. And you go to a writer's room, this brilliant comedy writer, but your pitches are all just like, you can't say, are you kidding me? Sid Caesar did that bit and it killed. So what is the device? What happens to you that you get froze? That's the only thing I don't have yet.
Well, I mean, if I'm this stereotypically Jewish person, if pickle juice is taken, I think I fall into a vat of lox would be the correct answer.
Interesting.
A salmon curing barrel.
Interesting. Like pickling, lox is another type of, what do they call it when you smoke?
Cured.
When you cure something or smoke something, you get cured and smoked, mixed in with a vat of lox, of smoked salmon, and then you come out 70 years later with that look.
What do we call it? Smoking what? It's got to be called smoking something. Like smoking jokes.
Oh, smoking ham, because you're a ham.
I think JF kind of has an Einstein look.
There is a little Einstein.
Oh, you got like Manhattan Project kind of thing going on?
Do you understand there's not a Jew?
Looks like that could be the reason why there might be an end of the world.
Because he has that quantum physics theory, so.
It's like if Einstein tit-fucked J.J. Abrams.
Oh.
Guys, we're just making this better and better. I'm just becoming sexier and sexier, more powerful Jews.
I like how I just did a titty fuck joke with the Bible behind me. I got to get that out of the shot so I could do more of those jokes. Do we have to be clean in these? Is there
I don't think we do.
You don't think we do?
JF,
you know how the Comedy Cellar is PG rated.
Hilarious.
So, Joe, are you in New York?
I am. I'm in Astoria. I visited the South. I did one gig where they acted like there was not a pandemic at all.
What state was this in?
North Carolina.
Aha.
I'm not going to say the club, but there was basically just like nothing had happened, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to do any more gigs for a while.
Man,
there were people trying to. People trying to shake my hand after the show.
That's what Brian Callen said. Brian, may he rest.
Please, can he please just take a rest?
Brian, no. Brian, I know. I like Brian, and I don't know. I don't address allegations unless they're proven. But Brian said he went to a club. I forgot. It was Texas, Dallas.
Stand Up Live. It was Stand Up Live in Phoenix.
Right.
That was him and the boxer, Brendan, right? Brendan.
Right.
Schaub.
Right, and he
Good
goes
job.
there and literally walks through the crowd does one of those instead of like going into the stage. He does the walkthrough, high-fiving everyone. Everyone's spraying their whatever COVID jizz on them, and the next day he's like, "Oh, I have it," and I don't get why anyone would want to do comedy that's either indoors, that's not like what Nicky's doing and Gaffigan and Burr, these big outdoor in their cars, whatever. I did a back patio of a kosher restaurant. I don't want to brag, people, but this was an outdoor in Oxnard. It's like a winery, and they have this kosher restaurant, and there's a patio.
Did they spell it Whinery?
That's hilarious.
A Jewish
by the
winery.
way, if for those of you who watch my daily show on Instagram called My Funny Quarantine, I do have a segment every Wednesday called Wine Wednesday where I drink wine, and it's spelled WHINE, and I whine about things. So, because Harrison's going to tune in tomorrow and go, what an asshole. I give him the wine thing, he steals it. You could go back and look. For months I've been doing Wine Wednesday. Anyway, so I go to this winery, this kosher winery. We're back to Al Gahor, and there's like 50 people, all distant. It's like tables really far apart. So comedy is not fun. But imagine a delicious kosher steak, and then me with the jokes for an hour. It actually turned out to be 4 nights. Like Mark Schiff came out to open. He was just like, I haven't hit the mic in 5 months. I want to do this. Another buddy of mine, Eli Leonard, came out and did it. And we just had so much fun because not doing this for all these months, it does make you a little crazy, and we all need the outlet. So going out there, but again, that was on a patio. That was outside. It was 2 weeks ago. I'm fine. You know who's not fine? Anyone that goes into a comedy club in a confined space with a low ceiling and everyone's just breathing. It's insane.
It's who do you want? Do you want people who don't believe in science laughing at you, spitting?
Yeah, it brings out the freedom fighters.
I did watch a little bit of the Trump RNC thing. Has anyone addressed that 90% of that packed crowd while outside on top of each other were not wearing masks?
Oh, ad nauseum. Yeah, there's like over 1,000 people. No COVID testing. Most of them weren't tested. Just next to each other. There was a great shot of before the people got into the seats because they put the seats out. The lawn doesn't. It's not like a stadium where you have to unscrew seats. They could have put less chairs. They could have put them farther apart. And they were like, fuck it, we're just going to cram them all in, I guess, and they're going to lose 1,000 voters. Is that the idea? Take the most dedicated voters and not have them show up?
They would, it's almost like, they would rather, like, because at least 8 of those people there are going to die from COVID.
I mean, that's what got Herman Cain.
Right. Like Herman Cain died from a Trump rally. So people will die from that, but they would rather have the shot of a crowd of people cheering with their aerosols spraying on each other.
They don't give a fuck.
I think the point they're trying to make is like, we're not China. We're allowed to do whatever we want, and whatever we want is to risk getting COVID.
Right. We're allowed to kill our citizens.
But like for dumb reasons, like the thing in Sturgis, like you're going to die for Smash Mouth? That's the one that you're going out for?
By the way, Sturgis should be JF's last name. Hi, I'm JF Sturgis.
That's actually my porn name.
JF, what do you do besides stand-up comedy?
I write occasionally on things.
I'm a little bit fascinated.
If JF was in a porn, he'd be the husband in the corner watching his wife get banged, right?
I'm a little bit fascinated by...
Isn't that
with this extra 15 pounds too? Fuck, I missed that joke, Joe.
I missed it.
No, do it again. It's always funnier on the second time. Do it again.
I said, isn't that JF in normal life as well?
Oh, let's see.
JF, what shows have you written on?
I wrote on Magic for Humans for Netflix for seasons 2 and 3, and I wrote for Will Smith for a while.
You are gonna write them. You are gonna sell a bunch of movies.
Wait, let's backtrack. How do you write for Will Smith?
You had to sign a
Um,
contract saying you can't say anything.
That's true.
Yes, but what I will say is he's really nice. And then,
No, give us one detail.
I talked about this on Late Night at the Cellar once before too, so I don't want to like retread too much. But like,
Okay, but just the broad strokes. Are you writing a screenplay, punching up?
no,
Are you writing his act?
I was on a staff of a bunch of people when he launched all of his social media stuff, and Facebook and YouTube were paying for him to have shows on it, and I was part of a larger team of people who were helping him create, curate, and develop his voice when he was launching all that stuff.
That's
Is he
so
not?
fun.
Is he no longer doing that? Team?
No, he's still doing it. It's just after he jumped into the Grand Canyon from a bungee cord, they didn't need as many of us.
Like, keep pushing him out of planes.
Yeah.
Will Smith plus height equals
For
gold.
his 50th birthday, that's what he did. Like, YouTube paid him a crazy amount of money to do like a live stream where he like did like a bungee helicopter jump into the Grand Canyon.
Do people really tune in that much for Will Smith bungee jumping?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Why? Why? It's just a bungee jump.
I mean, it's crazy dangerous. He jumped out of a helicopter on a bungee cord into the Grand Canyon.
To me, I'm like, it's probably safe. They
Yeah,
got people-
well, I
they-
mean, they made it safe, but it was also insane. But
Okay.
yeah, it was a cool job to do for, a year of my life.
I'm turning 50 in 2 weeks. I know, I look amazing. And for my 50th, YouTube has paid me to jump off the City Court building in Queens.
Bungee cord.
No bungee though, just a
No
jump.
cord. No cord. There'll be no cord.
How much are you getting paid for that?
It's not important, but the estate is going to be receiving.
His wife and kids will receive the jalapeno poppers he was promised.
Hey guys, speaking of that, I have a new bit that I'm working on. Could you help me with it?
Sure.
That's
It's
what we're
about life insurance, and this is it's a real thing, but I also don't. Okay, I don't have life insurance in real life, so I try to make comedy out of real life, and what I say is the areas are, if I die, that's not my problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking, like, well, what about your family? Well, my family, because I have 4 kids, I have a house. They could sell the house, move into a smaller, shittier house. I don't have to live there. Plus, there's one less of us now. Do we need 5 bedrooms with one less of us? And it's like just the concept of life insurance. This is how they get you. Because we all know what it really is. But you would never, ever have an insurance salesman be like, can I interest you in some death insurance? You'd be like, death? No, I don't want to die. I don't even want to think about death. How about life insurance? Oh, I like life. I'll buy that. And it's like, what am I worrying about that's going to happen either tomorrow or in 30 years? I don't care. I don't care. Here's the thing. And then here's a punchline an area punchline that I like, where it's like, the last thing I want is for me to die and my wife to meet a young man who will marry her for her money. Is that something?
Yes.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
I like the part about I think there's a lot of funny stuff, especially about you not wanting to give your kids more than you've already given them with the house.
Right.
I think there's a funny point of like, I've given them enough with the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Joe.
don't need to spoil them.
Right.
I think you could tag out the end too of like, I don't want to think about my wife banging me when I'm dead. I also don't need to help her reach that goal.
Right.
Oh, and then like a funny butt would be like, but their dad just died. Maybe they should get something to help with the grief
Jet
of their
skis.
dad's death.
jet skis. My dad
Jet
just died jet ski. Fun. I'm gonna
It
go.
says like your name on the side of it.
It's funny to picture the reverse of like, my dad just died and now we have to move into some smaller house. right after the funeral.
So do you all have life insurance?
Oh,
I have no
Right.
kids.
When I graduated from college, my grandmother told me that she had been sending in like Gerber the baby. I think it was the baby
Oh,
food
yeah.
company. They have life insurance for like starting when you're a baby.
Wow.
She had taken out a life insurance policy so when I graduated from college, if I died, my sister would get 100 grand, I think it was. And then I found out that she had the reverse policy. So if my sister died, I would get 100 grand. So I feel like she was just trying to pit us together, pit us against each other to see if after she graduated from college, we would just fight to the death.
Right.
Like up from student loans.
Exactly. Yeah. One of us was about to win 100 grand in a Hunger Games that my grandmother engineered.
JF, why did you give us a resounding no to life insurance?
I mean, I don't have any. I like have a girlfriend / partner who like.
That's who you cuckold?
Yeah.
I just learned that.
Your mouth is so funny.
Why is that an inside joke? Why am I missing something?
Just my
it's
callback.
It's a certain porn category that Joe thinks I look particularly well versed.
Somebody else made a joke about it. I'm just calling back to it.
Was it?
What is it again? I literally just learned it a week ago and I forgot it. It's something really gross.
It's like when you like watching 5 big black dudes fuck your wife,
or just one guy fuck your wife.
Just one. It doesn't. Race or number does not enter.
I like how he added race and number.
He added a lot of extra steps that are not part of the.
It's when 10 Jewish men form a minion and do your wife. Like, why did you bring in that?
The reason I think that is not because I've never watched cuckold porn. I'm just friends with Big J Okerson, and I know that's what he's into.
He likes that.
Oh shit!
Jerry Falwell got into trouble with category.
That. He specifically described cuckold as watching like a bunch of black dudes fuck his girlfriend.
Didn't Jerry Falwell get into trouble with that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, Jerry Falwell Jr. Because I think he liked watching his wife. That was the allegation.
That was the allegation. Now we're doing Jay Leno topical jokes. Oh, this is good. You hear about this? Apparently, Jerry Falwell Jr. Amazing. You know, he's getting his wife getting banged. Imagine if that was Leno's monologue on the Tonight Show. He'd come out
going blue would be a fantastic.
Oh, that'd be so fun. You hear about this? Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife gets banged while he sits there and jerks it in the closet, folks.
Also, if you call that Leno special "Going Blue," it would just be him in an all denim outfit.
Oh my God, that is amazing!
Canadian tuxedo, filthy Leno.
That is amazing.
The audience for that special would be about 27 people that
That's not true. A lot of people would love to, and I'm going to defend Jay right now because first of all, he has weirdly befriended me in this pandemic. Now I did the Tonight Show 10 times.
Told you? Is this?
This may be a cuckold situation. I did the Tonight Show with Jay Leno 10 times. I did 5 stand-up bits and 5 correspondent pieces for him. He was always nice. He was always cool.
I heard he was
literally
great.
Huh?
Yeah, I've heard he's great to all the comics who do the show.
Like he literally came into my dressing room before one of the appearances and he was like, Conan's leaving, and I'm leaving. You should have your agents call, to replace Conan when he. I'm like, yeah, it's not in the cards for me, Jay. But thank you. No, you could. And he was just so nice to say that. Cut to, I don't know, 10 years go by. I don't see the guy, hear from the guy. I reach out for him to appear on this stupid Instagram show where I have to go do in a few minutes. Again, My Funny Quarantine at Elon Gold. And I've had great guests, everyone from Leno to Howie Mandel, and I reached out to him, and he said yes, and I went, but you realize there's 83 people watching, and then the next day maybe 500, 1,000, not more than 2,000. He's like, well, we'll just talk and we'll catch up. Great, he does it, kills it. Does jokes because he speaks in jokes in a way that's I don't even, not that he can't have a conversation, but he just loves jokes so much. So all he was doing was just spitting out jokes. Oh, how about this one? You about this? Read about this in the papers? And he just kept doing jokes. Great appearance. Then a week later, the phone rings and it hasn't stopped. You know what it's like to hear that iconic voice when your dumb phone rings and you pick up the, hey, it's Jay. Oh, hi, Jay. Oh, yeah. And then it's like an hour of just, and when Johnny said to me, Johnny was, in the last days of Johnny could barely breathe. I mean, the emphysema really, and he just tells these stories that are like fascinating. It's like the podcast that no one gets to listen to but me.
Well, I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one struggling in this pandemic.
Every time Elon drops a name, though, an agent does get his wings. That's just a Hollywood fact.
That is so not true. Who did I say? Al Gore? Seth Rogen? I didn't even tell the story of how Seth Rogen contacted me after I called him out for his problems.
Oh, was it the Israel stuff?
It was Israel. It was a lot of. Listen, Seth is a more proud Jew than most, and he literally wore the Star of David on his sweater for an entire movie. So I would never accuse him of being self-hating or anything. But in that podcast with Marin, he riffed so many things where the headlines just taken, and they were taken by so many anti-Semitic, anti-Israel outlets, and just the headlines were so damaging. If you think about just the headlines, like, Israel makes no sense. Well, what he was saying is, again, and they just take that headline, they're like, see, we told you, and that's why we're going to blow it up. And he was saying,
Israel makes no sense. It makes no sense to put all your Jews in one basket. That literally, for survival, that makes no sense. That's like putting all my precious belongings in a blender. Israel's a volatile area. You don't put all your Jews there.
It was a case for Jewish survival. And of course, the haters take it and say, see, even the Jews don't think it has a right to exist. Then it's the, I'm afraid of Jews. And literally, when he called me, he said, when I said I'm afraid of Jews, I literally was thinking of you. I'm afraid of you. Jews like you who would get mad at me. And I was like, well, I'm only mad, not at what you said, but how you have to be careful with your words or it is taken out of context and spun and used for propaganda. I mean, that stuff reads like the protocols. And again, what he meant was he's afraid of the backlash whenever he questions anything. Religion, Israel and its history. And then he's saying, there was no one there before 19. He goes, we were fed lies as if there was no one there before the establishment of the state of Israel. And that's where I called him out on it. I was like, yeah, there were people there before 1948. People like my mother, who was born there in 1936, because there were Jews and Arabs living in Palestine. And all the stuff that he said, whether it was misinformation, he claimed he had a lack of education on it. Whatever he said, he meant as a riff for comedy. He meant as a Jew to Jew, me and Marin just yapping. But the headlines, taken out of context, were so damaging and just fuels the propaganda machine that is anti-Semitism.
I want to hear. Go ahead.
I was going to say, as a stand-in Jew, I didn't hear about any of this stuff, and
wow.
I got to tell you, it's not shocking because everybody else doesn't really care about that.
I think we should go around and hear about celebrity pandemic calls, because I got a phone call from Todd Barry.
Oh, did he ask? What did he ask you?
He said, "What time you going to bed at night?"
What?
He's gonna stop by.
I said, I've been going to bed around 11:45. Ouch. Todd says "ouch" a lot. Ouch.
and
what have you been up to? No, just writing in the morning. Ouch.
By the way, Harrison, in my defense, every time I drop a name, it's not for the coolness of, ooh, guess who called me? It's really so I could do an impression and entertain these people. They don't want to just hear us. They don't want to hear us talk. Any of my stories go right to an impression. I'm dazzling people with my talent.
Who's your most obscure impression?
Yes.
Elon.
Well, I think right now.
Joe Zimmerman.
Who?
He does a Joe Zimmerman.
Right now, while he was a giant movie star in my day, I think doing right now where no one under 40 knows him would be obscure, but it's Charles Grodin. Remember Charles Grodin from
Oh,
Midnight
I
Run?
love Charles Grodin.
I'm under
Love Charles Grodin. But I would stand on stage and do him now, and people will just stare at me, and I'll be like, I really don't appreciate, a lot of people know Charles Grodin, very, very big fans of Charles Grodin. I don't appreciate that just because you're 12, you have no idea who I am. I don't like that.
I'm gonna Google him right now.
I
He was in
can't
Midnight
believe
Run.
you say that.
Midnight Run, a fantastic
Charles
film.
Grodin Google.
Midnight Run is, I think, top 10 of all time. Call
Oh
me nuts.
yeah, I love Midnight.
Dan Morrell was the one who turned me on to it. We co-produced a show together for many years. We were standing outside in the winter barking, and one night he's just like, Midnight Run, funniest movie.
Oh yeah, Charles Grodin's great.
And it's a great movie.
I just saw something on Twitter, Sam Morril in a backyard getting kicked out. Does anyone know the story?
If I had to guess, it's par for the course. It was the backyard in Florida. He's been kicked out of a lot of Florida stuff.
I will tell you, I love Gilbert Gottfried, and one of my favorite things he'll do esoteric impressions, like old school. He did an extended thing on Nipsey Russell, and this was within the last 10 years, and it killed me. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
And it's why I love Mario Cantone. Like anyone that does these, and listen, I grew up watching Billy Crystal and Eddie Murphy, and both of those examples are the perfect examples of guys who weren't afraid to do something that was old. So Eddie Murphy in the classic Delirious bit did something from the Honeymooners with, them being gay, whatever the joke was. And that was a show, this was the 80s. That was a show from the, 50s, right? From 30 years ago. I didn't know.
Never stopped running.
What?
That show never stopped running.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. But it still was an older reference. And I'm watching this, or the better example is Billy Crystal doing Edward G. Robinson from the Ten Commandments movie. A movie at the time I saw Billy do the bit, never saw the movie, had no clue who Edward G. Robinson was. But it was just funny to see a guy go, "Where's your Moses now?" See? And I was just like, oh, that's just a funny voice. And and the bit around it is funny. I don't care if people know who I'm doing, as long as there's good material behind it. And yet Chris Rock yelled at me once at the Comedy and Magic Club and went, because I did a Gene Wilder impression. "Are you crazy? Are you nuts?" And he went, "What are you doing Gene Wilder for?" He goes, "Gene Wilder? Don't you want to be hip?" And I was like, yeah, but I think it's kind of hip to do like old school. And I go, and then I gave the example. I go, I grew up loving Billy Crystal, who would do impressions from people 40 years ago. And he went, "Billy Crystal's 90. You want to be 90? And
that's a great bit. I would love to see a comedian who do just like the most obscure impressions. That's his whole act, is like, this is the background extra from this movie from the 70s. And he just goes, see, if you knew the movie, you know it was perfect.
It's so funny. I kind of get that, but my latest impression that I'm working on and I'm like figuring out, and I haven't nailed it yet, but I've nailed sort of the cadence and the rhythm and writing material in their voice, is someone who's dead. It's George Carlin. I am just becoming so obsessed with Carlin and watching his specials. And if you have the innate ability to do impressions and you admire someone for long enough, it just sort of absorbs and you just spit it back out. And the thing I noticed, a little observation about Carlin, is his mind, it's so magical, and his memory, he would list things and he would just list like 50 things in a row. And you didn't even know how he memorized it. Forget writing it. You write it and then he memorized it. And I'm like, I could never even do an impression of Carlin because I have no memory like that. The only thing I could ever list is numbers, because you could just make up different numbers. So the first riff of the Carlin bit is, "Let's talk about numbers. I can remember numbers, can't remember names, faces, places, people, cities, towns, states. I'm walking in the room.
Walk Joe. You've
Yeah,
walked
capitals. I go, but I can remember numbers 17, 34, 12, 29, 18, 52, and 111. I like 111 because it's got 3 ones in it. 3 ones is 3 minus 2, which is 1. And you could just talk like Carlin forever. Now, I'm going to bring it to the stage when we're back on stage in 2028. And I don't care if people are staring at me and they go, we don't know who that is. Because for the people who do, they'll just appreciate it on a deeper, better level. And for the people who don't, I'll make sure the material is good enough where they could just laugh if it was any weird voice of a guy.
Yeah. Well, did you ever feel weird watching people do like Rodney Dangerfield impressions?
Is it weird?
No.
Wait, what were you asking?
Like, Chris Rock was giving you shit for doing Gene Wilder. I was saying, did you ever feel weird watching other people do impressions? Like, would you feel weird watching someone do like Rodney or, you know?
Never. I was just saying, that's what I love about Gilbert. That's what I love about Mario Cantone. You know, the older the better. The less I know them, the better. Then it's just this weird, obscure reference to me, and it's not freaking the president that everyone's doing. You know, don't give me your Trump. Give me someone I don't know.
Yeah, like Al Gore.
You know, when we were growing up.
Let's talk about numbers. I like numbers. 93, 41. What?
If you do Carlin, you got to throw in a 69.
And of course, that, by the way, that's part of the bit. That's literally part of the bit where I go, see, I don't know it yet, but the bit that I'm working on is, oh yeah, how certain, you know, there are a lot of good numbers, a lot of bad numbers. I like the number 9. Seems like a good number, right? Still in the top 10 without the pressure of being first or last. Right? I go, but 9 only works alone. Put an 11 after it, now you're 911. Now you're a shit number. But on the flip side, put a 6 in front of it, and you're back to being a good old time.
That's definitely got to kill at an Orthodox restaurant patio.
How dare you?
Joe, speaking of George Carlin, if there's any comic, if you could open for any comic, living or dead, who would it be? Would it be Carlin or would it be somebody else?
It would be living. No,
if there's a way to turn off your screen, I would have done it. If there's a way to just kick you out of the Zoom.
I've heard he's not that well. I've heard he's not necessarily the friendliest, but I think it'd be fun to open for work with Steve Martin just because he's a classic. Steve Martin or
I don't know that he's not the friendliest. What I've heard about him is that he is very warm and friendly, but he's naturally an introvert, so he just comes off as aloof and shy, but so warm once you get to know him, which I don't, so I'm not dropping that name.
So
I wasn't cheaper by the dozen though, and did spend 2 days with Steve, and you know, Steve and I had lunch, and but I don't know him. Go ahead.
He's the old school guy that I like a lot, and I find very talented.
Yeah.
Who would you
impossible not to like. It's like Bill Murray or, you know, Eddie Murphy. Like impossible not to like Trading Places, 48 Hours. Impossible not to like Groundhog Day.
I think all 3 of those dudes have something in common too, which is they don't want to be treated like anything other than just another comic. So like, I think that's the thing with like a Steve Martin or somebody like that. Like I know some guys who we all know comics who are, you know, the biggest guys in the world. But if someone starts talking to them about their specific work, they're done with the conversation. They want to talk about sports. They want to talk about other comedians. They want to talk about jokes, but they don't want to talk about them as a comic.
But what do you mean? It sounds like you're contradicting yourself, because what I was with you is that as big as you are, as big as you become, you still want to talk jokes and about the old days and about comedians. So, but then you just said, but they don't want to talk about your work.
Yeah, well, I mean, like...
an interview. They don't want to be interviewed.
Yes, they don't want to be interviewed. Yeah.
That's why watching Jerry and Eddie in the Comedians in Cars, I literally just watched that and went, I can't believe these are two of the biggest names in the history of comedy, and they're talking about spots on Long Island like we would talk about.
Yeah.
Doing spots and clubs and the comic strip and D.F. Sweedler, and it's like, wait a minute. So these are just comics?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's less weird about them being so famous, and sometimes a little bit more weird because they're so rich. Because sometimes that part you can't relate to, where you're like, you have so much money. We are living very different lives.
George Wallace has the best joke in the world about Jerry Seinfeld, who was the best man. He was the best man at Jerry Seinfeld's wedding. And he goes, when you show, one of your friends is really rich when you show up at the front gate of their house and your Google Maps goes, please drive 1 more mile and you will.
That's great. That's great. By the way, Godfrey, the comedian, just go to his Instagram right now or go to mine and scroll till you see Godfrey, because he did it on my little show. Godfrey does the greatest George Wallace impression. Not only is it an amazing George Wallace impression, it's the best impression I've ever seen, and I've seen them all over.
Wow. George Wallace is one of those dudes who I'd murder to fucking open for. He's just so genuinely nice and cool.
Genuinely nice, just spitfire, joke. He just loves joke. You know what? Stupid people. And he just loves jokes.
And a hell of a dresser, too.
Thank you. Speaking of dresser, can I do one plug for American?
And he loves comics.
He
Is
does.
that American High, the production company I just Googled?
That's hilarious. So my buddy Jeremy Gerlich bought a high school in Syracuse and started making high school movies to fill the void that John Hughes left. And The Binge, which is trending #1 on Hulu and in America, I have a part in. Speaking of Godfrey,
She's in there, right?
Jeremy asked me who should play your wife, who's a funny. I went Jessica Kirson. Boom, she's in it. Who could be your funny friend? I said Godfrey. Bingo, he's in it. And we're all in this really funny, it's just a 2-minute scene of this movie, The Binge. You got to check it out. Support American High movies. It's like this independent thing. A guy bought with investors a high school, turned it into a movie studio, is making great, hilarious movies. Vince Vaughn is in this one, The Binge, and it's just so cool that I'm a part of it.
That's super smart.
Does he ever get frustrated when somebody pitches him a college idea?
Now I gotta buy a college too?
Oh, you son of a bitch, I bought the high school.
You know how much colleges are?
We can't even do elementary. We got high school. You got 9 through 12. That's your target.
That's it. Guys, how do I exit this? Because I have to go live soon with the great Neil Brennan, who's my subject of the day.
Kevin Brennan's brother? You got Kevin Brennan's brother.
I called. I had to go through Kevin. No.
You can just hit the leave button at the bottom.
But how long do you guys go? Haven't we hit an hour mark?
4 minutes, I believe.
We're almost 5 short of the hour.
Oh, so if we fill the hour, then I'll respect the hour and I'll go. But if you guys are doing hour and a half, I got a big show with 83 Jews watching.
Whoa.
I think we'll probably end up doing the hour, maybe a little bit over. But I also know that if we ask the producer of the show, they might need the feed. They usually need the feed after the hour to go do one of the other, to do Noam's podcast or something.
Yeah.
It's open today, but I mean, whenever you guys are done.
Thanks, Mike.
I just also am a firm believer in brevity and in less is more, because as interesting
I could tell by most of those stories. You set it up too good. You can't. I've been stuck in my apartment for months. I'm losing my mind.
No. I've frozen.
If you haven't done that Zoom bit yet, that's a keeper.
I haven't. I just thought of that. But you know what the Zoom bit I am doing? How did we go? I've had it with Zoom. How did we go from Waze to Zoom? Right? We went from Wazing everywhere to Zooming nowhere. And everything is on Zoom, not only stand-up comedy. And here's where I draw the line. Harrison, you may be the only one to appreciate this. Zoom Shivas. I will not go on a Zoom Shiva and sit there in some fucking depressing, bizarro Brady Bunch where everyone's, instead of like smiling, it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's terrible. I'm not, right? Did you ever have to do a Zoom Shiva, Harrison?
Thank God I have not had to go to a Zoom Shiva yet, but I can only imagine.
Do you Goyim know what a Zoom Shiva is? Zimmerman, you might be a Jew.
I wish, but I'm not.
Yeah, you don't look it.
His last name is as deceitful and deceptive as J.F. Harris's face.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Don't let the last name or face fool you.
Who was that Zimmerman guy in the news that was a horrible guy? And then I went, oh, no.
Let's not worry about,
please.
let's not
Which
worry
one?
About, let's not worry about him.
No, who was he again?
We don't need to talk about that guy.
Wait, why? Are you related?
Because he comes up too much for me.
Oh, right. No.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
That's why for me.
Are you in a Google search fight with him, Joe? Is he taking over your search results?
I just hate that like an emblem for racism comes up so often in conjunction with just me.
Right. And imagine how nervous I was when I thought there was this Jew racist running around out there. So thank God neither him nor you are one of us.
Wait, so
You would be okay with Joe Zimmerman being on Team
I would. I like Joe Zimmerman. I'm trying to figure out who I like better on this bottom bracket here, JF or Joe. I'm going back and forth.
If you're taking us for the team, I mean, you got two great stand-up comedians right here.
Right, but if I only could let in one into Judaism. We go with the name or the face, Harrison. What do we do?
What the tiebreaker is? I'll tell you the tiebreaker is.
This is
Hear it.
JF has enough real estate that he has his own office. Joe has a fake brick wall. I think the edge goes to Harris just for his real estate acumen.
JF Harris, you are a Jew.
Hava, Nagila, Hava.
If I did that, it would be fucked up.
This would be a great game show.
It would be. You can be a Jew. No, there's another game show that everybody loves to play. It's Let's Blame the Jews. This rabbi from Nazareth was hung up on a cross by these people. The Jews? No, I'm sorry. It was the Romans. But since you blamed the Jews, you are correct and move on to the next round. Was that too angry that we get blamed for killing Jesus and we had nothing to do with it?
Jesus was a Jew.
Exactly. We don't kill our own. Has anyone looked at history? We don't kill our own. Why would we kill this great rabbi that we loved? We loved Jesus. It was those Romans.
You guys just send finely worded letters.
That's right. My grandmother really did. Email was a thing, but she would send a handwritten note, very angry.
I think it's going to be fun in 2,000 years when people think Mel Gibson was Jesus.
I think the last angry mail letter my grandmother ever wrote, God bless her, she was amazing, but the last letter she ever wrote was she wrote an angry letter because they didn't have an address, and so they asked her to email it. So she found an address anyway to write an angry letter that they wouldn't let her send a letter because they only do email.
Wow.
That is holy shit.
The
inception of angry Jewish letters.
That reminds me of the time that I worked with Chevy Chase. You know, Chevy.
Now, I got a question for the Jews up top.
What gig was this?
No, I'm joking. I was just dropping a name that I don't know a person.
He was doing a bit.
No, I know. I was trying to yes and the bit.
What were you asking, JF?
As Jews, where do you guys feel on rewatching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
I would love to rewatch it. I haven't.
By the way, I try to separate the man from the art, and I mean that seriously. I still listen to Michael Jackson, an absolute, unquestionable, pedophile without question. And I will, whatever. I will watch a Woody Allen movie, and it's questionable what he did. I will watch a Harvey Weinstein movie. It's unquestionable what he did. And I just literally, someone just showed me a clip of The Cosby Show the other day, and I was like, God, he was so good. What a great show. And I'll watch it knowing the rape. You gotta separate. Mel Gibson is an anti-Semite, but frickin' Braveheart is still so fun to watch. You know,
This is
I
how I
don't
feel
care.
about O.J. Simpson highlights.
Right.
Wait,
you
so
need something to jerk off to, right, Jeff?
how much Michael Jackson are you exactly? How much Michael Jackson are you listening to, Elon?
Joe, you could mock me all you want, but Man in the Mirror is one of the best songs in the history of music. I happen to, when I run to ballads. I was running an hour ago to Whitney Houston, Didn't We Almost Have It All? And you can mock me for that. I know a lot of people like to run to, motivate. What motivates me are slow, soft rock, soft hits from the 80s. So I will listen to Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey. I will listen to slow song. I was listening to James Ingram. What's that famous? What was it? The famous James Ingram song. I was literally listening to it an hour ago.
Reference.
What is it called?
I said no. I said this name is like a Charles Grodin reference.
Oh, how do you not know James Ingram?
I'm picturing you running
in
along.
1983.
I'm picturing you running along, listening to Michael Jackson right behind a school bus.
That's nice.
The only acceptable 80s song to work out to is Eye of the Tiger. That's the ultimate.
This is what I will jog to.
You jog to that?
Well, now that our stream has been kicked off of YouTube and Facebook for using copyrighted music.
No, we played under 9 seconds of it. That was a sample, and it was a parody of the song. We were under parody laws and sample timing. Guys, I have a live show to do. Is it okay to exit?
Yeah,
I love you all.
We're going to wrap up the whole show. Elon, we'll start with you. What do you want to plug? Where should we find you on the Twitters and the Instagrams?
The Binge is on Hulu, and I have a show on Instagram at Elon Gold called My Funny Quarantine tonight with Neil Brennan in 28 minutes.
Elon, thank you so much. You're mishpacha. I love you, brother.
Oh, love you too.
Joe, plug your stuff.
I'm on Instagram, very active, at Joe Zimmerman. And find my podcast, Blind Spot Podcast, please.
And his talent is as real as those bricks are fake. JF, tell us where we can find you on the internet.
You can find me at the JF Harris. JF is like the initials. And then go to my website when touring becomes a thing again, and you can see tour dates in 2021, hopefully. And other than that, Harrison, where can they find you?
You can find me harrisongreenbaum.com, at Harrison Comedy on Twitter and on Instagram. I have live streaming shows most nights, so make sure you check out my schedule. I have a mix of live streaming and touring. And thank you guys so much for watching Comedy Cellar Nightly. We're here Mondays through Thursdays, so check us out. Take care. Good night. Stay safe and stay well.